In today's video, we're going to have a look at creating a table using HTML and a bit of CSS to style it up. As you can see, it is a little bit more complex than the previous tutorial. What we have got here is the AFL ladder for 2015 and how the top 8 teams finished up. Okay, so what we're going to do is go over to our accounts first of all and make ourselves a new folder called Lesson 6 AFL ladder. From there we open it up, we make ourselves an images folder. Okay, and inside images we've got two pictures. One of them is the background that we're going to use for this web page. Okay, this is a black and white picture of the MCG. And the other one, we don't actually use this picture in the website, but this is just a picture from the actual AFL.com website where we've got the top 8 teams and all their stats that we are going to include in our web page. Alrighty, so it's just a bit of a reference there. So once you have got your AFL ladder folder made with images inside of it, you can go into brackets here, and we're going to start by making a new file. Okay, before you start typing, remember to go to Save As and go into your accounts and find that Lesson 6 folder you just created. Remember, don't go into images, just stay in that Lesson 6 folder. Give it the name ladder.html. Don't forget .html so the computer knows you're making a web page. And there we go, we're good to go, ready to start making our page. So let's start like usual by throwing in the doc type tag. So doc type HTML. Below that we'll set up our HTML tags. Inside those, so indent them along one line, we've got our head tags. Inside the head, we've got a title to begin with. And the title today is AFL Top 8 Ladder. We will come back to the head section a bit later on and add our CSS into there, so our style tags, but for now we're just going to set up the body part of our web page. So in the body today we've got a table, and that's what it begins with. So let's put in our table tag to start with. Inside the table, we usually start with a table header row, or TH tag. Okay. But we're not going to do that today. So in the first row, so add TR for your first row, we're going to put a TD tag. It's just table data, it's just general data going into the table. In that TD tag, we've got our header. Okay, it's basically going to say 2015 AFL ladder top 8. Now I would like to make that a H1 heading, so make it a little bit bigger. So I might just put some H1 tags around the outside of that header. Okay, and once we've done that, I might just press Control S and we'll go and have a look at how that's going. So I'll open it up from my account. A little bit slow, this computer. There it is. Okay, so we've got our title up the top, the AFL Top 8 ladder, and this is our header row, which is a H1 heading, and it's also the first row of our table. Okay, there's the first row there. Remember, TR makes a new row in your table. TD, the table data tag, just lets you populate that row with some information. Let's go down a couple of lines and we will make the next table row. So in the second row of our table, what we've got is the header rows. Okay, so we're going to need the TH tags. I'm going to copy and paste this another 6 times. So in total, we've got 7 of these TH tags. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's going to be 7 different columns in this table. Each time there's a TH, it makes a new column in that row. Okay, so let's start with the first column in the table, and it's going to say POS, which stands for position. That's what position the team came. The next column across will be the name of the club. The P stands for how many games they played. W stands for the amount of wins they had. L is how many losses they had. D for how many draws they had. PTS stands for the number of points they received at the end of the season. So that table row there contains 7 columns. If I press Control S and save it, we'll go and have a look at those 7 columns. Okay, quite ugly at the moment. Here's the first column that has our header and position, and then we've got the 6 other columns very bunched together over on the side there. Okay, so what we're going to do is keep adding to this table. We're going to make it look better later on using CSS, but for now let's just get the information in this table. So I'm going to add the third row to my table now, and we're back to TD tags, so just general table data. I'm just going to copy and paste the TDs there another 6 times, so we end up with 7 of them. Now we're going to put in the next row the team that came first on the ladder. So their position was first, so you put in the number 1. In the second column, we put the name of the team, so that was Fremantle Dockers. In the third row, how many games they played was 22. How many wins they had? 17. How many losses they had? It was 5. How many draws they had? Equals 0. And the amount of points they ended up on at the end of the season was 68. So in this row, the third row of our table, we've got 7 columns again. Each column has a little bit of data that will go under each of these headings that were listed above. I'll press Ctrl S to save it. We'll go and have a look. You can see their position was first. Clubs Freo Dockers. Played 22 games, 17 wins, 5 losses, 0 draws and 68 points. Okay. Looks ugly as I said, but we're just going to keep working with it. We'll make it look better later on. Next team. Okay, let's copy and paste the TDs in 7 times. Now we do the team that came second. So the team that came second was West Coast Eagles. And from here we got 22 points, 16 wins, 5 losses. They had 1 draw and 66 points was what they ended up on. I'm just going to keep going here and I'll add the third and the fourth team in. So this is the third team. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Put in the table data 7 times, which adds me 7 columns to that row. Third team, Hawthorn Hawks. He's a Hawthorn. They played 22 games for 16 wins. They had 6 losses, 0 draws, and 64 points. Okay. To be even quicker, I'm going to copy that entire row now. So TR to TR, I'm going to copy it and paste it in below, and I'm simply going to change 3rd place to 4th place, and Sydney Swans was the next team. Alright, that's the top 4 teams in our table. I'll just do a couple more. I might do the top 6 so I don't waste too much time in this video. Feel free to fast forward it if you know what you're doing. Richmond Tigers came in 5th position with 15 wins and 7 losses, and they ended up on 60 points. Alright, so let's just copy and paste that one more time. So coming in 6th position we had the Western Bulldogs, and they had 22 games played, 14 wins and 8 losses. So let's change 14, change that to 8. 0 draws, and they ended up on 56 points. Alright, so you should do the next 2 teams as well. We've still got Adelaide Crows and North Melbourne Kangaroos that you can add to your table, but to save time I'll leave them out. So our row is closed off, our table is closed off, body and HTML sections all closed off. So that's looking good. I'll press Ctrl S to save it, and you'll see that this table will become populated with a bit more data. Okay, it's starting to look a bit nicer now. Get a little bit more structure to our page. Alright, so once that's in, that's all the data. We might as well start making our page look a bit nicer now with a bit of CSS styling. So let's go back up the top here. Alright, so remember inside the head section, we need to add some style tags. Oops. So there's our style tags. This is where our CSS code goes, or our styling code. First thing I'd like to style up is the body section of our page. So I'm going to write the word body, go to the next line and open a curly brace, and then also go to the next line and close that curly brace off. I'm going to add a line or a blank row inside those 2 curly braces, and I'm going to write in what sort of things I want to style up in the body. The thing I usually start with is the fonts. So I usually change the font family first, and I love my sans serif fonts. You can choose another font if you'd like, but sans serif is always a good choice for web pages. And the size, so font dash size, I usually stick with 1 EM. Okay, so if I save that now, make sure you got your semicolons at the end of those as well, just to close them off. I'll save that, go and preview it. You can see that our font's changed to sans serif and we've got 1EM, or a general size font in our web page. Might even change that 1EM to 11 point. So you don't just stick with just the EMs, you can choose your exact size. So 11 point, we'll just make it a little bit smaller. Okay, I think it's going to look a little bit better in the long run, so let's stick with that. The other thing I want to style up in the body is the background. Okay, we did have a picture in the background in the example, so let's add that in now. The way we do it is just write background-image, and we choose, oops, we don't want that. We choose the word URL. Okay, and we just got to tell it where to find that picture from. So we look in our images folder, and inside images we want to choose the background.jpg picture. And we put a semicolon at the end. Okay, so let's look at that again. We just say background image. We need to find a URL or a link, and we link it to our images folder, and it's the background.jpg picture. If I hover over that, you'll get an example of what that looks like. So if I save it, preview it, we've now got a background image. Obviously way too big for this screen size, so we might need to change that in our code and make it look a little bit nicer. So instead of having that massive size, we'll change the background size by going background-size and choosing the word cover. Save that and show you what that does. That will make the background image fit nicely within our screen. Okay, that's looking a lot better. Now, one issue you can't see on my screen right now, but if you were using a bigger monitor, like a 27-inch iMac screen, this picture would not be big enough to fill that web browser up. And what it would do is it would repeat itself over and over again just to fill up any white space. It would look quite funny having a tiled background. It doesn't look very professional, so what I'm going to do is stop that from happening. So I'm going to write background-attachment and choose the word fixed. Put a semicolon at the end and just save that. You won't see any differences, whoops, when I refresh that on mine. But if you're on a bigger monitor, you would see that that picture would no longer tile itself across the page, filling up white spaces. Alrighty, so that's our body section all styled up. Still inside those style tags, what I'm going to do next is add a border to the table. So let's write in the word table and open up a curly brace and then close a curly brace. And we'll add a new empty row inside those curly braces. Now, what we're going to do is add a border. So we write the word border, let's write colon, 1 pixel. Okay. If I save that, test it, let's see what it does. Alright, absolutely nothing yet. So what we need to do is add a little bit more detail. I'm going to put a space and write solid, and then I'm going to put another space and write black. So our border now is 1 pixel, it's a solid border, and its color is going to be black. Now when I save it and go and preview it, we should start to see a border appear around our page. Let's see. There it is. Quite ugly at the moment, and it only goes around the outside of our table. We want to get this border going through every row and every column inside our table. So I'm going to need to add a little bit more styling to this table. What I am going to do, next to the word table here, I'm going to add a little bit more in. So I'm going to write comma, th, comma, td. What that's going to do is put that border not only around my table, which you've already seen, but also around my heading rows and all my data rows, so all my cells inside my table. So pretty much every cell is going to have a border around it. If I press Ctrl S and we go and preview that, there we go. You can see that looks a bit nicer now. Every row and column has been split up by a border. Okay, here's an ugly border, so let's go down back inside those curly braces again and tell that border to collapse. So you write border-collapse and choose the word collapse and put a semicolon. That will just collapse our border down into a single black skinny line. Okay, so it's looking a bit nicer already. The other thing I want to do to this table, just pop over here, is change the opacity of it. And what I'm going to do is make it 0.95 and then put a semicolon. While you can't see that right now, when I save this and go back over here and refresh it, you're not going to see any changes, but a bit later on we're going to color this table in white. And what we're going to do is just have it slightly transparent so you can see that picture in the background just coming through a little bit. Okay, and that's what opacity is, how transparent something is. Alrighty, so that feature there is going to come in handy a bit later on. That's all I'm going to style up on my table and my header and table data section for a minute. What I'm going to do now is just do the TH and TD sections. Okay, so it's no longer affecting the entire table, it's just affecting the header row and the table data rows. So inside there, I'm going to put some padding around this table. And the padding is going to be 10 pixels. If I save that, you'll see that each column now, or each little cell, will have a little bit of space around it. Okay, a little bit of breathing room. It's a lot easier to read. After we add some padding, I'm going to put the text align as center. Okay, it's not going to make a huge difference right now because we haven't resized our table, but you'll see these number ones here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the positions will come across to the center, and all the text over here is centered as well now. Alright, we'll keep moving. I'm going to close off the curly brace there for the TH-TD section. Now we're specifically going to work with just the table header, so let's just do the TH styling. We're going to give our table header section a background color. So background color. I'm just going to do a hexadecimal code for this one. It's going to be A7, 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. Put a semicolon. Okay, if I hover over that, you'll get an example of what color that is, and it's a reddish color. On the next line, we'll just put in a text color as well. So the text color, we just write color, and I'm just going to choose white. And I'll close my curly brace off. So every time that TH tag appears, which is just this section, this row here is going to have a background color of that reddish color, and the text will be white. Let's save it and have a look. Okay, there it is there. So it's the TH section, red background, white text. Pretty simple. Back up the top in these style tags, let's style up. What else have we got? This is an interesting one. We're going to style up every other row now to have every second row a white color background and every other row a light grey colored background. Okay, so what we do is write TR colon, oops, no spaces there, we just write NTH, which stands for north, and then child. And in brackets we're going to write the word even. Now we'll open up a curly brace. I'm going to choose a background color. It's basically saying every second row needs to be this color. So background color I want, I'm going to go hashtag E8, E8, E8. Do a semicolon. Close off the curly brace. Hover over that code and you'll see it's a light grey kind of color. So every second row is going to be a light grey color. Just a little bit further down, we're just going to write the similar sort of thing. So TR NTH-child. This time in brackets it's going to say odd. Alrighty, and in my curly braces this time I'm going to write background color and I'm going to make it white. And then go down another line and close the curly brace. Save it up. We'll go and have a look. You'll see now we've got grey and white for our colours in the table. Okay, you can just, if you look closely, see the background through the table, so it's very slightly transparent. If I was to go back and change in my table here the opacity, so let's say 0.75 and save it, you'll see that it becomes more transparent. And you easily start to see that background coming through, but all the text starts to fade out and it becomes quite hard to read. So leave that opacity at 0.95. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. I might leave that styling for the minute. Okay, it's mostly styled up. Okay, I've got to do this top row, which I'll do shortly. Okay, so let's go back And we'll do a bit more editing on this table down in the body section. Alright, so in the body section, let's find our table tag. Scroll down. Inside the body, straight below it, we've got table. Now what I want to do first is just write a line, equals, and in quotation marks, center. That little bit there will just push our table into the center of the page. So if I just save that, give it a test run. There we go, it's looking good. It doesn't take up a lot of width on the page, so I might change the width of this table. So what I might do is go up the top here and find table. We'll have to add it in actually in our CSS. We'll add a table tag here. Open up a curly brace. And we've got width. Now you can give it a percentage width. So the width I want to make this table is about 80% of the page. I'll do a semicolon, close off the curly brace. So that little bit of CSS styling should, if I save it, make our page, our table 80% width of the page. There we go, so that's looking a bit nicer already. The other issue I'm having is this header up here, 2015 AFL Ladder Top 8. I want that to stretch all the way across the top of our table here. Okay, so what I'm going to have to do is go into my code and find that row. Where is it? Here it is, just here. This is our row. What I'm going to do is go inside the TD section here. This is the first column, so it's showing that that piece of text only goes across one column. Inside the TD tag there, I'm going to write with a space colspan equals, and in quotation marks, 7. What that little piece of code does is says span this row, or this column, sorry, across 7 different columns. Okay, so if I just minimize that for a minute, instead of just spanning across this one column, we want this row to go all the way across all 7 of these columns. And if I refresh it, oops, I forgot to save it, so I'll quickly save it. We'll just go and test that one more time. There we go. So this spans across 7 columns now. And that's a nice header row for our table. I don't like the white colour. I do want to change that to like a bluish colour. So what I'm going to do is go back to my code here. And this is where it gets a little bit interesting. What we've got is a TD tag here that we want to change. Okay, just this one. If I was to write up here, let's have a look. If I was to write TD and open up a curly brace and write background color, oops, and we'll just make it, what's the code I want? I'll do a hashtag 005 CB7, close that off. If I was to tell my TD tags to go that background color, watch what's going to happen. Everything goes blue, which is an issue. I just want this top TD tag to go blue and these ones to remain their grey and white colors. So what I'm going to have to do is just delete that TD section there. And I'm going to make up a name for this TD tag. Okay, I'm going to leave TD there, but I'm going to give it an ID tag. I'm going to write ID equals, and I'm just going to write header in quotation marks. What that does is gives that row a unique name. So if I want to style it up now, all I need to do is write hashtag header up here, and it should give, that little bit of code there will give this row, or this header row, a blue background color. Okay, so let's save that and test it. Beautiful, and it doesn't affect any of the other TD tags because those TD tags don't have a unique name or an ID. Okay, it's just this one TD tag here that has an ID. Now one other thing I just want to quickly add in there, inside that header CSS tag there, is just the color to be white. That will just make our text white in color. Okay, so let's just save that. Go back and have a look. Let's see if this changes. Yep, so that's white. Alrighty, so as far as I can see, that's basically a finished web page. I don't think there's anything there that I need to touch. Just make sure you've got the last 2 rows added in, so you've got the top 8 ladder. I only did 6 to save a bit of time. But that there is how you make a fairly advanced table in brackets using HTML and some CSS coding. Okay, so you can go back and save that up, and you are all finished.